Jai Hind to all the students, parents, teachers, elders, and everyone watching this video. This is Raj sir, and I'm your English teacher, and I'll be taking over your grammar classes. But before going into that, I want you to learn and understand all these aspects that I mentioned. So, the topic for today is how to improve your English. So, this is going to be a detailed presentation, so you need to focus on all the aspects from start to finish. So, I've included these few aspects that you can see over here. The first one is grammar skills, speaking skills, listening skills, comprehension, pronunciation, reading skills, and writing skills. So, for an individual to be overall good in English in speaking, writing, and everything, so one must have knowledge of all these aspects of English, right? So, let's get into it. Alright, so let's be clear with these two questions first. The first question is, why is English considered as an important language? And the other one is, why does it have official status in India and many other countries? So the answer is quite evident to the first question. It's easy to see how important English is around the world. Many important businesses conduct meetings in English, universities teach courses in English, even schools do that, and this is not only just in India but around the world. Even tourists and travelers they use English as a common language. But how did English become so important? In order to understand that, we need to go back to the British Empire, which at its peak time covered 25% of the Earth's surface. So during this colonial times, British rulers often obliged the people in these countries to speak English rather than their native language. So just like India was invaded by British, there were so many other countries that British invaded. And what they did is they forced these people. They told them to speak in English and not in their regional language or not in their mother tongue. So that is how it started to grow. So the colonies that were invaded by the British government, all these people they had to speak in English, and plus if they spoke in English, the British government would listen to them more instead of listening to people who spoke in their who spoke in their mother tongue or who spoke in their native language. So this is the first basis on which the spread of English language around the world is pretty much significant as compared to other languages. But it is also very important to know that English is not the most spoken language in the world. Yeah, actually, the most spoken language in the world is Mandarin Chinese. 1.1 billion speakers in the world speak this language, whereas English comes to a close second with 983 million speakers all over the world. So you must be wondering that I just told you that Mandarin Chinese is the most spoken language in the world with 1.1 billion speakers, whereas English has only 983 million speakers. So why is English considered as the official language as opposed to Mandarin Chinese? The answer to this question is quite simple. The reason is because the British government or the English government, since back in the days, they have forced English upon the rest of the countries. So they had no choice back in the day. So it continued. It was kind of a tradition that continued like that. And whereas Mandarin Chinese is also quite spoken, but the thing about that is it's difficult to speak and learn. So that is why people tend to use English more often than any other languages because it's easier. So now we already know the importance of learning vocabulary as it's one of the most important pillars of learning a language. If you want to learn any language, not just English, vocabulary is really important. So learning a second language at a higher level of expertise and proficiency needs a lot of things, and acquisition of a rich vocabulary is one of them. So I already told you before starting the video that if you want to be a proficient speaker, if you want to be an all-rounder in all the aspects of English, then you need to understand all the aspects of vocabulary. You have to understand comprehension, you have to understand speaking skills, listening skills, and everything. So one of those is acquisition of a rich vocabulary. The Oxford Dictionary has nearly 250,000 words, but we can't learn each and everything we can't learn each and every single word from the dictionary, right? And it's not possible to, but we can learn enough to make our vocabulary enriched, so that the next time we are talking to someone, we don't get stammered or we don't get stuck in between. So what I'm saying is, actually, you don't need to read, you don't need to practice each and every word from the Oxford Dictionary. It's not possible. What you can do is practice 4 words or 5 words per day. You can start with 5 words per day. So today you are learning 5 words, tomorrow you can learn 6 words. If you're successful, then it's fine. So now what happens is your vocabulary will increase, and the next time you talk to someone, you will find the right word sitting there in your mind, which will be very, very easy to communicate. Okay, so let's take a look at this question, and I think most of you will agree to this. The question says, do you sometimes struggle to find the right word to say when you're talking to someone in English? Well, this happens to a lot of people who are not native English speakers. That means those people who don't speak English as their primary language. Let's say a speaker of Hindi language, let's say a speaker Marathi, Gujarati, whatever it is, a non-native speaker. Most of the non-native speakers have these kind of troubles. When you're talking to someone, when you're talking to your teacher, your student, your friend, colleague, whatever, whoever it is, sometimes what happens is when you are speaking in between sentences, you forget the word. You just tend to forget the word. You know what the word is deep inside of your head, but it doesn't just come into your mouth. So what happens is sometimes you face embarrassment because of all these kind of things. Because of nervousness, this happens. When you get too nervous, like when you're thinking, am I speaking properly? Am I using the right words? Am I using the right grammar? When you tend to think about all these things, you tend to forget about words. And in order to overcome this problem, the solution to this is increasing your vocabulary. You can call vocabulary like a storehouse, a storage for all the words, so that when you are speaking to someone, when you are talking to someone, you never miss the word. So you can just pull the word out from your vocab and then just use it. So this is one of the most crucial aspects of you speaking English fluently, is having a large storage of vocabulary in your brain. Alright, so let's look at this paragraph. Remember the days at school and playgroup when your teachers used to make you remember words, spelling, and their meanings in English? That is where vocabulary building starts. We all Indians have adopted English as our second language. Our mother tongue may be Hindi or any other regional language, Marathi, Gujarati, Nepali, whatever it is, but English is an integral part of our life. Our teachers also used to give us very funny tricks to remember vocabulary, which remain in our mind till now. But those tricks made vocabulary very easy to understand and acknowledge. A language can't be learned without focusing on vocabulary. It is the backbone of learning a language. So, as I already mentioned, in order for you to become a good speaker, a good writer, you need to have these vocab words. So vocab words, the storage that you have for your words, you can use it anytime, anywhere, right? So when you have knowledge of all this kind of stuff, then it will become very easy for you to communicate with other people in English. Now let's go back to the old days when teaching English and remember stuff was done in a subconscious manner. Now we will talk about conscious and subconscious later, but right now let's focus on this part only. Alright, so when we used to be taught, when we were taught when we were kids, what happened was our teachers used to make us memorize these words in a very fun way. Back in the day, we didn't have any problem. At that time, we were just kids, so there was no embarrassment, nothing like that. So the words could naturally get inside our head, and then we would remember it for the rest of our lives. Like when they taught us multiplication tables, when they taught us the name of colors, name of birds, names of animals, all those. So all those remains in our head for a very long period of time, and it gets stored in our head, right, in the vocabulary section. We can call it a storage of words, the part of the brain where all these words are stored. So when we were kids, it was done more easily, but now it's difficult for us to keep new words each and every day, because our mind is now not the same when we were kids. When we were kids, the grasp was pretty quick. We were having fun, we were not bothered with grammar, we were not bothered with anything else, we were just studying and grasping the knowledge. But now it's a different case. Nowadays what happens is you tend to think about so many things to make it perfect that you miss the important part of it. So that is how you forget what you read when you grow up. You have to pay full attention to when you are reading something. When you are enjoying a book, when you're enjoying a novel, you are enjoying a movie, that will become very easy for your brain to record as compared to when you are sitting in the class listening to a lecture. Naturally, your concentration when watching a movie will be relatively higher as compared to the one when you are sitting in your classroom listening to a lecture. So when you're watching movies or when you're enjoying some stuff, what happens, it gets recorded in the subconscious part of your brain, so that later when you need that, it will always be in your brain's storage. We need to understand about this first. Human brain, it has two sections. The first one is the conscious section, and the second one is the subconscious section. Now, what role do these sections have to play in learning a language? Here we are talking about learning English. So let's move on to the first one, the conscious section of the brain. The conscious section of the brain, general awareness of current situation. It's also called the old way of learning English. You use your conscious brain to analyze English grammar, memorize English vocabulary, and translate English messages. This is the method you used in school. You consciously studied the mechanics of English as if it was a car. You cut up English with your mind and then studied the parts word by word, rule by rule. The result, as you know, is that you know a lot about English grammar, rules, and translations, but you can't speak well and you can't understand native speakers. Okay, so the next part is the subconscious section of your brain. Unintended auto capture of language and grammar. What it means is that you don't want to learn it, but it gets captured in your brain because of the subconscious activities. So let's take an example. Let's say we are going on a shopping mall to buy some clothes. So when you go out in the streets, on the way you can see there's lots of banners, lots of hoardings put up all over. Let's say it's for mobile phones, drinks, juices and all. Let's say it's for beauty products. So those are not important things, right? Your brain can identify whether this is important, whether you need to learn this, whether you need to remember this, whether you need to understand this, and then the brain identifies which thing is important, which thing I need to learn, and which I don't. But while this process is going on, when you take a look at some of the hoardings, when you take a look at some of the banners, when you take a look at the name of the shop that you're entering, the name of the store that you're entering, it gets recorded in your subconscious section. You don't know it, but the brain is doing that on the back of your head. So let's say the next day you open up the package that you have bought, or you open up whatever you have brought from the store, and then you realize that one of the product is missing. Let's say you bought two t-shirts from the store, but in your bag you only have one t-shirt. Now what are you going to do? Now you sit down and you try to think where the store was if you don't know the store. So you sit down and you try to think, you try to remember where the store was, what the name of the store was and all. Remember that you did not try to understand this, or you did not try to learn the name of the store voluntarily. This has been the subconscious part of your mind doing things on its own. So after putting some pressure on your brain, you will be able to know actually that where you bought the clothes from, so that the next time you remember it very easily when you go to the same store. Then you will say, oh okay, yeah, this is the banner that I saw yesterday, this is the hoarding that I saw yesterday, and yes, this is the same pathway that I walked through. So that recording in your subconscious mind of the activities that you did the previous day helped you in order to make a decision to go to that shop again and then exchange or get your refund or whatever it is. So those activities that are done by subconscious part of the brain, and your conscious part of the brain even doesn't know about it. So the subconscious part of the brain is feeding the conscious part of the brain those informations that you actually need. Even those informations you can recall. You can just recall information what you did last year. You can also recall that information from the subconscious section, because everything recorded in subconscious section of your brain never gets deleted. You just have to put some pressure up, and you just need to think about it hard. So, reading stories, articles, conversations, movies, novels, etc., subconscious methods are more effective. These methods provide understandable English input to your brain. Then your subconscious brain does all the rest of the work. You never think about grammar rules, you never attempt to memorize words, you just listen and enjoy the story consciously. But subconsciously, your brain learns English grammar. So now, why do I always keep telling you read books? Why do I always keep telling you watch English movies, listen to English songs? Because there is something very important aspect to it. The reason is that if you do it, you will subconsciously record all the information. The activity you are doing is conscious. You know that you are watching a movie, but you don't think, your brain does not say that we need to remember each and everything from this movie, that this will come in your examination. No, the brain does not say that okay, we have to listen to this song because this song will come in a examination. The brain will not say okay, I have to watch this movie because this will come in my examination. No, it doesn't happen. But when you watch a movie, let's say you watch a Bollywood movie, and then you come back from the movie hall, you know each and every dialogue that the person you like said or did. And why does that happen? That happens because of concentration, because you had so much concentration on the movie that your subconscious brain recorded each and everything without your conscious brain knowing it, right? So this is how you can do things. This is how you can record English too in your brain. So when you watch English movies, you will be learning about grammar as well. Not only the movie, not only the story of the movie. Your grammar will improve, your vocabulary will improve, and you can feel that you can speak English more fluently if you keep on doing this all the time. So that is why I always tell you, read books. When you're reading books, even if you don't consciously try to remember each and everything, the grammar behind the sentences, it gradually develops in the subconscious part of your mind, so that the next time you try to talk to someone in English, you will remember, you will recall each and everything, right? You will recall the word, and the subconscious part of the brain will give that word to the conscious part. So what happens is, after the information is fed by the subconscious to the conscious part of the brain, the word will always come into your mouth easier, and then it will be more fluent. You will be more fluent in speaking English. So that is how brain works. Okay, so this is for your homework. It's all about me, vocab practice. So as you can see, there's two sections here. First one is word, and then the second one is definition. In the first column, you need to write about the word that defines you. Let's say we write the word smart. So in the definition section, you can write, I am smart because I scored 80% last year. I am smart because I scored 90% last year. I am smart because I dress smartly. Whatever the definition that you want to write about yourself, you can write. You can write the word clever, and you can describe how clever you are. You have to use the word in the definition sentences. And after you complete that, you have some more questions over here. Getting up in the morning is hard or easy? You need to explain. Write up your own answer. Is it hard or easy for you to decide what to wear? Describe your process. How do you decide that I would wear this cloth, I want to wear this shoe, or whatever bag I have to carry? How do you decide that? And discuss what happens at lunch, what you eat, what's the usual time, what kind of stuff you do. Are you involved in after school activities, or do you have a job? If so, write about what you do. If not, explain what you do instead. How late do you stay up on school nights? Why? So go through all these questions, and then you copy these questions in your textbook, text copy, and then you write all the answers. We will check the answers later, so you have to practice all this. It's important. So see you guys in next class.